Hey guys, welcome to the Shermichael Singleton Show. I'm your host, Shermichael Singleton. And immigration was one of the top issues of the recent presidential election. It was the economy and immigration, and sometimes immigration and the economy. And most Americans have stated that they want strict immigration laws. Even a whole lot of Democrats actually agreed. It's part of the reason why Kamala Harris didn't win, in addition to a slew of other issues. How many of you, though, out there want strong immigration laws and punishment for those who break the laws? Well, let me know in the comments below because I got a feeling it's probably going to be the majority of you. Now, immigration is an issue that defines not just policy, but the very survival of a country. There is no such thing as a boundless country. We call that anarchy, essentially. You've heard the mainstream media spin, you've heard the political rhetoric from Democrats, but what's the real story? And why is securing our border not just a matter of politics, but of national identity, economic security, and law and order? A nation without borders is not a nation at all. It's an idea left to the winds, whichever direction the winds blow. It's an abstraction awaiting its dissolution. Yet in the US, as in much of the West, to be quite frank, we see a growing chorus from the left, politicians, academics, media elites, who insist that the borders are, at best, a mere inconvenience, and at worst, a moral transgression. They tell us that to defend one's border is to commit an act of exclusion, as though exclusion itself were an evil rather than a necessity of civilization. It is, I think, a sign of our age's peculiar disorientation that such ideas have taken root, but you can blame that on progressivism. Borders are the foundation of law and order, the boundary of sovereignty, the dividing line between chaos and civilization. I prefer to live in a civilized society versus a chaotic one. I think you do as well. Yet the political establishment, most notably the Democratic Party and its faithful acolytes in the media, they dismiss concerns about illegal immigration as xenophobic. They call you racist, they call you bigoted, a scare tactic to getting you to feel bad about your position so that you fall in line and agree with them. They fail to understand that the issue at hand is not one of race, but of responsibility, not one of cruelty, but of coherence. The progressive mindset, so often intoxicated by its own rhetoric, assumes that national identity is an archaic relic, a dusty remnant of the past to be discarded in favor of a borderless utopia. But utopias don't exist, perfection doesn't exist. It is a vision unmoored from reality. You see, here in the US, we've never ceased to be reminded by those on the left that we are a nation of immigrants. But what they neglect to acknowledge is that America has also always been a nation of laws. Immigration in a lawful and orderly manner is the means by which a nation grows stronger, not disorder. Illegal immigration, by contrast, is the means by which a nation is hollowed from within. And maybe that's the objective and goals from some of those on the left. Consider this paradox. Progressives insist that America is a place of boundless opportunity, yet they advocate for policies that erode the very foundations of that opportunity. They claim to champion the working class Joe, yet they undermine the wages and job prospects of those very workers by allowing an unregulated influx of cheap labor. They invoke justice, yet they disregard the first principle of justice, that law must be upheld and applied fairly to all. It is an iron law of human affairs that disorder begets more disorder. When a nation neglects its own borders, it invites lawlessness, not merely in the form of illegal crossings, but in the border erosion of social trust. And what is a nation if not an intricate web of trust? Trust that laws will be enforced, that citizens will not be abandoned, that those who contribute will not be displaced by those who disregard the law. The Democratic establishment, ensconced in gated communities and ivory towers, is insulated from the consequences of their own policies. They don't really care. But the ordinary American is not so fortunate to live in gated communities with private security, bodyguards, with guns. The working class citizen in Texas or Arizona, the overburdened teacher in California, that liberal bastion, as they would have you to believe, the hospital worker stretched to their limits, the firefighter, the Leo, these are the ones who suffer from mass illegal immigration. The black poor, struggling family in Chicago, New York, or that working class family in Appalachia. Yet their voices are ignored, their concerns dismissed as reactionary. And the argument for a stronger border is not an argument against compassion. We're all compassionate people. But immigration is not a right for anyone anywhere in the world to come into the United States of America when they so choose. It's a privilege that we, the citizens of this country, grant when it's in our best interest. On the contrary, it is an argument for responsibility. True compassion does not ignore the rule of law, it upholds it. True compassion does not invite lawlessness, it prevents it. So we must ask, what of those who wait in line, who respect America's legal process, who seek to contribute to their adopted homeland? What of them? Do they not deserve a fair and orderly system? Are they not wronged when illegal entrants are granted de facto amnesty while they remain in bureaucratic limbo? A government that refuses to enforce its own immigration laws sends a clear message that lawbreaking is tolerated, the citizenship is devalued, and the obligations of the state to its people are negotiable. And then these principles are undermined. So too is the fabric of that nation. And that's what we're seeing in our own country. This is not a radical position. It is, in fact, the common sense view of civilized societies throughout history. Even the ancient Greeks understood the necessity for defining citizenship. The Romans secured their own borders, not as an act of exclusion, but as a means of preserving order. Even the most open societies have recognized the need for regulated entry, for a nation is not a mere collection of individuals, but a home, a place where laws, tradition, and common bonds shape the destiny of those collective people. America stands at a crossroads. It may choose the discipline of law, or we may embrace the illusion of open borders. But it cannot choose both. To preserve our heritage, our stability, our very existence as a nation, well, we must reaffirm the principle that borders matter, not as a matter of exclusion, but as an affirmation of the rule of law itself. What is a nation without laws? And until our political class comes to terms with this reality, the American people must insist upon it. Well, that's it for today's show. We've broken down the facts, we've cut through the spin, and we've asked the tough questions the mainstream media won't. But conversations doesn't stop here. So stay informed, stay engaged, and never be afraid to challenge the mainstream narrative. As always, I appreciate you for tuning in, and let us know what you think in the comments section below. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like this particular episode of the show. Again, drop those comments, and remember, truth isn't about what's popular, it's about what's real. I'm Shermichael Singleton, and I'll see you next time. Take care, and God bless, and ask yourselves this: is a nation if it doesn't have laws? Take care, everybody.